Hello, welcome to the channel. All honor, glory, and praise be to our one and only Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. People come into your life a lot of times to gratify themselves, not serve as a benefit to you. People come into your life sometimes to gratify themselves, not serve as a benefit to you. See, their intention can sometimes become misconstrued by your perception. What you may have thought it was versus what it really was. Because what a lot of you have dealt with out there are a lot of deceivers. People that were just there for the moment, for the pleasure or the entertainment perhaps, that satisfied their souls while they were in your presence for the moment, for the season, but not for the longevity of things. I believe a lot of people have gotten married on a whim. And what I mean by that is this, how it felt in the moment, spur of the moment. But what about the longevity of things? What about when the passion and stuff die down and you start to get sick of looking at that person every day on the regular, or you get sick and tired of waking up to that person every day on the regular? It makes the the excitement die down. And I feel that's natural, especially if a couple is married, even newly married. Because I feel like part of the excitement of being with someone or around someone is not seeing them all the time on the regular. So when you do get to see them and spend time with them or go out with them or hang with them, there's an excitement there that of course may not be there when you see them on the regular after you marry them, And a lot of people have a a misconception of what they feel marriage is about. It is not Prince Charming and Princess Charming, and it's just not the fairy tale that your imaginations have hyped it up to be because of your expectations and how you felt in the spur of the moment, if that makes sense. And people are deceivers out there. And a lot of people out there, male and female, you're going through a lot of emotional distress because of how your partners are treating you. And I say this with all compassion, so don't take it the wrong way. But when people don't genuinely love you, that's how they treat you. They treat you like a fifth wheel. They treat you like you are irrelevant to their lives. They miss anniversaries or don't acknowledge anniversaries. They may come into a large sum of money, but you won't see any. They are always on the go. They always have somewhere to be, or if you ask them where they're going, perhaps they don't even give you a reason. Perhaps they just walk out the door and just treat you as if you are insignificant. And I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings out there, but that's because you are to them. You are insignificant to them. What a lot of people fail to realize is that a lot of the people that they've been involved with never loved them in the first place. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but once you step into the realization of that and you prioritize God first and foremost and yourselves, it will make it a lot easier to accept who that person is, acknowledge their character, accept their character, meaning not accept their behavior, their toxic behavior towards you, but accept them for who they are. This is a piece of junk. It was junk when it approached you. It was junk when it asked you out. It was junk when it proposed to you. It was junk when it married you. It was junk when it walked down the aisle with you. It was junk on your honeymoon night. It was junk the next day after your honeymoon. It was junk on the next day. It was junk on the next day. And it was junk on the next day. And that's what you were walking with. Junk. Because people wear masks and people wear facades. And they are in it for self-gratification, for the spur of the moment, not to elevate you and build with you. See, a lot of people, you know, you gotta, they didn't come into your life to build with you. They came into your life to tear you down. They came in your life for, I think the term is demolition. I think that's how you pronounce it. They didn't come to erect anything. They didn't come to, build an empire with you. They came to tear down the one that they thought that you were building, or that perhaps you were building. They came to leech off of you and feed off of you. They came for the security blanket, which was they deemed as you. They came for the safety net, which they felt was you. Because perhaps they felt like if they went out there and was with anybody else other than you, if that situation didn't work out, well, guess who they had to catch them. Guess where and who they could always come back to. Old trusty, old safety net. The wife or the husband, or the significant other, or the boyfriend or the girlfriend. People want security. I think even a narcissist wants some level of security. Even a demon out there in flesh wants some sense of security. So he, she, them, or they will see you as a security blanket when, in fact, you may not have it all together as it pertains to finances or housing or even vehicle-wise. But because you have something more than what they have, or maybe equal to what they have, or maybe even little of what they have, they feel it will serve as some sort of benefit to them. Let me explain. If they feel that you have more than what they have, then they feel like they're good. If they feel you have equal of what they have, perhaps they feel like that's something they can take. If they feel like that you have less than what they have, perhaps they feel like that's something they can add to what they feel they have. And then after they've drained you of your resources, whether emotionally, financially, physically, or as far as tangibility, then they can move on to their next victim. They can move on to their next prey. And see, the goal of life should be not to be preyed upon. I would rather be the hunter than the hunted myself. And we live in a world of predators, and they are emotionally manipulative to people. And the worst thing in the world is to have your emotions tied into somebody that has ill intent for you in your life. And that's why it's very important to give people time to reveal themselves. But you know what? Let me tell you something even about that, you guys. People do reveal themselves. It's just that people miss the red flags because they're so overwhelmed by the spur of the moment excitement of the situation. So meaning they're so caught up in bliss, and they're so caught up in romance, and they're so caught up in desire and attraction and the excitement of what y'all are doing together and going places. They're so caught up in that they're like, oh, well, you know, they'll just brush it off. The red flags are always there, you guys. People just brush it off because of emotions. And that's the reason why it's so dangerous to allow your heart to rule you. You know, I think it's very important to discipline yourself and force yourself to let your intellect make your decisions for you and not your heart. I'm not saying that in the context of don't follow your heart as it pertains to who you love and being with who you love. But I'm saying that if your heart is leading you towards the cemetery, if your heart is leading you towards a doctor's office, if your heart is leading you towards divorce court, if your heart is leading you towards a psychiatrist's couch, if your heart is leading you towards the telephone every 5 to 10 seconds, either calling that person or calling your friends to vent or get advice, if your heart is leading you towards calling your mother on the phone all the time, or your father on the phone all the time, or if your heart is leading you towards suicidal thoughts, if your heart is leading you towards promiscuity, if your heart is leading you towards a life of prostitution, because you feel like, well, they cheated on you, now you're going to cheat on them with a lot of people. If your heart is leading you towards rebelling against God, if your heart is leading you towards harming yourself, if your heart is leading you towards a crack addiction, if your heart is leading you towards a drug addiction, if your heart is leading you towards alcohol addiction, if your heart is leading you towards not taking care of yourself and getting haircuts and getting your beard trimmed up and dyed, or whatever you fellas do out there. And if your heart is leading you towards not going shopping and getting yourself nice things when you can, if your heart is leading you towards just not cleaning your house, if your heart is leading you towards just being depressed, alienating yourselves from friends and family, if your heart is leading you towards being angry all the time and lashing out at other people, and there are other things I could name that a lot of you out there may be dealing with. If your heart is leading you towards that, you don't need to follow it. Because I'm telling you, being involved with the wrong person can introduce all of that behavior and then some into your lives. And if the person that you're with, or married to, or engaged to, or dating, or just hooked up with, if they are introducing any of that toxicity that I just named into your lives, you don't need to be with that person. Because that's a negative entity there. That's a negative force. That's a person of negativity. That is somebody that is being utilized by the devil against you. And because your emotions are tied into that person, it's hard to let go. And I would imagine for those of you out there that are married, I know it's a deeper connection. It's a deeper bond. But I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but like I said in another conference, I'd spoken to some women before that were married, and they were talking about how being married is a totally different thing than the whole girlfriend boyfriend thing. I mean, both of them were like, no, that it was just totally different. And I was just sitting around, I guess one night, and talking to some ladies, and just girl talk, I guess you could call it that. And I've met people from all walks of life, and in my life, and throughout my life, throughout being in various workplaces or just various settings, just sitting around talking to women, and people have gone through some weird stuff out there. And me, I'm not one to tell anybody's business like that, but I do comment on certain situations and topics based upon things that I've heard that other people have gone through, and that I'm not putting their business out there like that, but just some of the things that a lot of women have gone through, I feel, quite a few women have gone through, and then just certain things that perhaps specific women shared with me that they've gone through or were dealing with at the time with their husbands. It's just like I could see the picture clearly, but they couldn't. And so it's like no matter what I told them about the situation that they were telling me about, it's like they would still come back a day later or the next day and be like what they didn't understand. And I'm thinking, I just told you why that went down like it did. It's just like they couldn't get their mind wrapped around it. And that's how it is when people bring disillusion into your life, and they bring deceit into your life, and especially if they propose to you and you walk down the aisle with them. It's like, how is this person that person? I think that's what a lot of women could not connect, perhaps, or a certain person that I had conversated with, they couldn't connect who they thought their husband was with the treatment that they were receiving at the time. And I told them what was going on, but the person just still couldn't get their mind around it. Like, well, because not to tell anybody's business, but the person that I was talking to was saying something like, they just couldn't understand why, their husband would do whatever it was he was doing. But I won't get into that right now. And she really couldn't wrap her mind around it, because this is somebody that from what it appeared like, was what do you call it, upkept or kept up, or whatever you call it, when you know, you can tell the type of women where it's like their husbands probably took care of them really well, like maybe gave them money or to do different things, get their hair done, nails done, and all that, or buy nice clothes, or, and then all of a sudden, you know, he starts tripping, and I'll just leave it at that. So when a man takes care of his wife like that, and then his behavior does not match the fact that he does take care of her, that's going to leave her in a state of confusion, because women equate being taken care of as love. And that's not always the case. Sometimes that's just the facade for you to not see the real case. And I'm going to leave it at that. But through it all, I will just say, because I know a lot of people out there, you're just living in misery. And you don't even probably know the person that you thought you knew. Because people wear faces, people wear disguises, and they put on fronts. And they, a lot of times, do what gratifies and satisfies them in the spur of the moment. For the spur of the moment, excuse me, for the spur of the moment, you were their excitement. But then excitement dies down. And when excitement dies down, and the foundation was not love initially, or being in love, or falling in love, or even having love, then that union, that relationship is going to collapse. People are deceivers. Be discerning. Try the spirit by the spirit.